What's up, guys? We're back again on the R31. Where I left off the last video, that would have been last night. It was very late at night. Discovered that the crank is trashed. I didn't bother to mic it. I'm just going to replace it. So it just so happens we have this RB30 that we just pulled out of that patrol. So I'm now going to strip this one, pull the crank out of it, and we'll have a nice fresh crank for the R31. So I'll just degrease that block and just solder on some blocks there. It's still got the crank and stuff in it. It's just a bit easier to work this way. I'll get this one sorted, strip it down, get the crank out and get rid of that and the rest of this motor. Then that one can go back on the engine stand and get the block, crank, stripped out of that, and it stays on the engine stand from there. I don't have to take it back off. So that's the plan at the moment. I'm going to proceed with that. So it's a bit annoying. I've also decided too that that flywheel is just toasted. It's got a lot of stress cracks and stuff in it. So yeah, I can't put it in like that. Same thing, if it was mine, if I was going to keep it, I'd probably chuck it back in and just send it. But because I do plan on selling it, I've got to do everything right this time. I can't really go doing any shibby right sort of attitude. So we'll get stuck into it. We've been spending a lot of time during the day. It's just been so hot. I've been using it for sort of running errands and going shopping and stuff like that. I actually went for a trip to Brisbane today and bought a whole mess of tools, just things that we've been meaning to get or been missing for a while. And I went to my boy Sharpie at MSA and got a heap of fittings, hose, lines, and a new billet overflow bottle and things like that. All of our really nice schmick looking tidy up gear that's going to make the engine bay really pop when I'm done. So now that it's cooled down in the Arvo, it's actually quite a nice temperature at the moment. That's why I sort of rushed to make sure I got this degreasing done while there's still light. And I'll spend tonight just mucking around, stripping this motor, and yeah, we'll get stuck into it and see where we get to tonight. So while we got a bit of light too, I'll just show you what the old boy's been up to. Big Yon is his official title. He's been doing a lot of earth movement, putting in work the last few days. This used to slope down a lot more going down to the dam, and you would have noticed in other videos the bank used to come back out to about here. Originally, when we cleared this pad, he was going to take the whole pad down to this current level all the way out to the end, but when they started digging, you can just see the top of it up in the corner there. There is a very large rock. So Daz decided we're going to bring this down. We were going to bring it 2 more bays of the shed this way and then step it up. However, when he started digging here, he found another big ass rock. So it's caused a bit of a problem at the moment where we're sort of looking at what we're going to do. So we've got some mates with some decent sized earth moving equipment. He's getting a quote off them. We're getting a look at getting a 25 tonner out with a power head on it to smash this rock out. And as I suggested, if we're going to be smashing this one, we might as well take this pad down all the way and smash that rock out too. And the eventual plan is to actually extend the shed another 18 meters this way, so it will actually double the size of the shed. It's currently 18 by 12. It'll end up being 18 and another 18, 36 by 12. Keep this bay here, will just be drive through, in and out, roller doors both sides, and then just 2 more bays. We plan at the moment is definitely to put at least 1 more hoist in, and we'll have a look how we're going for space and what we want to use the final bay for. We'll see how we go. We might even end up putting a third hoist in, maybe down the end. We're not sure yet, but there's some big things coming soon. We've got a lot of plans for setting this place up. Basically my idea would be that we've got one bay there and at least a second bay. That way if we've got projects, we've got customer cars and stuff in, each car sort of gets its own bay. Either that, or we'll keep one bay for sort of doing fab work and things like that, and try and separate it completely from the mechanic side of it, so that all of the dust and swarf grinding and all that stuff happens in a totally different area to the shed, as the like engine assembly and cleaning and stuff like that. We've gotten away with it so far just because we're fairly careful and we clean up a lot, but it's still, I really don't like assembling motors in an area that like even you have been grinding in before. There's, no matter how clean you get it, there's still going to be metal and grinder shavings and shit like that around. So we really want to get into a much more efficient and more separated modular sort of setup, so that it'll end up being less cleaning up, it's less work, and we can turn out work a lot quicker. So yeah, sorry to ramble on a bit, but yeah, that's sort of the plan. So plenty of work going on out here. Everyone's busy. So we're at probably the worst part of stripping RBs, and that is this absolute dog of a setup for the bottom timing gear. If they're stuck on like this one is, they could be a real pain in the ass. I just tried to get a pry bar in behind there just to see if this one would loosen up and come off. Unfortunately, it's not going to. So it's not really good. It's not good practice doing that, because you're levering against the oil pump housing. You can damage or destroy them by cracking them. It's not really an issue for me at this point, because I don't really give a shit about this particular oil pump. The Patrol oil pump and water pump are different to our Skyline one, so this oil pump really has no use to me at all. So I'm more concerned about just saving the crank. I don't care about the gear either. Usually how we'd get it off when they're stuck like this is to just drill a couple of holes sort of above the keyway there, and try and drill a series of holes right out to the edge, and use a cold chisel and literally just split the thing in half so that you can get it off the crank. It obviously means using a new gear. I'm yet to even hear of a reliable or decent method to get them off without destroying them like that. So I am going to try with this one. I'm just going to get the oxy and just carefully try and heat the gear up a little bit, just to see if that and the pry bar can loosen it up. Just because that'll be a bit quicker. The drilling holes and chiseling method is a pain in the ass. It takes forever trying to drill through the gear, and it also risks damaging the crank, which I obviously don't want to do. So I'll see what I can do. Okay, so just had a quick go at it, and it does look like it's moved a little bit. So I might just chuck the time lapse on, and I just need to hit it with a little bit more heat, I think, and maybe get a pry bar each side just to try and get it to come out even. Just with one pry bar, it seems like it's just, it did move, but it's cocking it. So yeah, I'll chuck it on time lapse and have another go at it, and we'll see how we go. That's it. Stubborn little bitch. So yeah, I would not recommend touching that. And our crank is perfectly fine and undamaged. I wouldn't recommend touching that either. So if you were doing this on a motor that you intended to reuse the oil pump, this is the risk. The front seal is right behind that gear. So getting heat into the crank, you can damage that front seal. Normally not a problem, because even if you're reusing your oil pump, you would be replacing that front seal anyway. Again, on this motor, not really an issue. So I'm pretty happy we got that off. That was a successful little venture. So yeah, now we can continue on. That's like the biggest pain in the ass about pulling down RBs, and that was relatively painless, so I'm really happy. From here, it's all pretty much gravy. Luckily, the one on mine, I don't think I filmed it, but went to try it last night, and it actually slides freely, which is a massive bonus for me. So yeah, that's it. That's how you have it. Righto, so I've got the old block out there. That's the old head, that's the good head. Just leaving that to drip dry before I chuck it up on the bench. Got the crank out, got this motor back on the engine stand, ready to keep stripping the rest of that out. This crank has done a lot of Ks, but it looks to be in pretty good shape. Little bit of wear just on the seal, front and back, just because it's done so many Ks, but we'll put new seals in it and shouldn't be a problem. It wasn't leaking any oil with the old ones. GoPro battery died halfway through that little spiel. So as I was saying, crank's out, crank looks good, little bit of wear in it, not a concern, it's going to be fine. I'll finish stripping this motor and I might start stripping the head tonight too. I've got to get some more gaskets and stuff in the morning. So I've started stripping this stuff out of the rebuilder motor, and you can see these main bearings are toast. Might be hard to see on camera, but if you can see the gap that those bearings have to the outside there. Like they've been bent way out of shape. They won't even stay in the cradle. They're actually stuck to the crank. And on those two, which is these main journals here, you can see there's a bit of a line in that one. And this one here might be harder to see, but it's actually got, you can feel the lines through the crank as it's run around. Whatever trash has gone through there has just destroyed it. So this crank needs to be ground and lineaged, mains and big ends. I'm pretty sure we've got a spare crank there. It's in better nick. I think this crank may just end up being scrap metal. It's sort of not really worth fixing for what you can get a good sort of RB30 crank for. So, but anyway, this crank that came out of the other motor is good. All of the journals are in good nick. So with fresh bearings, fresh crank, fresh bearings, these pistons, these rings are brand new anyway. This thing should go back together and it'll be a really nice motor. Alright, as usual, it is midnight, 10 past 12 at the moment. I managed to get the head stripped down. So that's our rocker set up there. Camshaft and valves and springs, etc, etc. So you can see in the head, if I get this torch here, the pitting around the intake seat there, same on the exhaust, and they're quite dirty. And the valves have just got a couple of marks in them too. So I'll clean this up tomorrow and we'll go ahead and grind, give all the valves a grind. Same with the seats, and lap them all up. So when this thing goes back together, it's going to be like refurbished head. It's going to be absolutely mint, this thing. This whole motor is just going to be really, really nice once it's finished. Hopefully the new owner, whoever they are, will be very happy. So we're not taking any shortcuts. We're just doing everything right. Make sure this thing is absolutely 100% before it goes out the door, which is a real shame because I really would have liked to have driven it and actually used it at sort of the level that it's going to be. But you know, things happen. It's all good. All right, I'll sign off for tonight, and tomorrow morning we got some shopping to do. Go and get some paint, make the old girl fresh as new, and yeah, we'll do some shopping in the morning while it's hot again. And I'll be back tomorrow. We'll keep going. Peace out.